Hey guys, it's me, RubiksSolver25, and well, me and Pykey312 are after finishing our first week back at CIT after our Christmas break for semester 2. And I gotta say, even after the first week, some things aren't too bad. We got our results on the Thursday. This has been pretty much recorded early in the morning on Thursday, because there's a funny thing with the timetables that we have. Because for me, I luckily had Fridays off, so I'm officially on the weekend as of recording, because I have a 3-day weekend, so woo, awesome. I also had this last semester, so this is my first time I've had a semester where I have Fridays off, and this will be coming out on Saturday, because that's how our videos are scheduled. So another thing to mention is on Thursday, which is, but this is Friday morning, but on Thursday technically, our semester 1 results came out, and there's this one which is OS Fundamentals. It was one of my ones, and when I saw my results, I was like, okay, that's a lot higher than I expected, because I was expecting to either fail or get close to failing, but I got actually well above that. My lowest was actually 59, and that was in requirements engineering. And I was like, okay, grand. At least I didn't fail it. And there's I got the majority of them were in the 80s, and basically my average was 76. And with the way this college systems work, I know CITs for sure it works this way. I have a good feeling other colleges and universities work this way, but if you get at least 70% on average for the 6 modules you do in one semester, and the 6 modules you do in the following semester for within the whole year, the average you get, if that is at least 70, you get this thing called a H1, which is the highest you can get. And I've gotten them in my previous 2 semesters. And of course the next time we'll get results will be during the summer after doing our semester 2 exams in May. So maybe I'll give a quick little heads up on many of the modules I'm doing. The databases module gets a part 2 this semester. We do this module called data structures and algorithms. The main idea is just the way data can be put together in one sense of speaking, and then the algorithms part is which is where you're given a problem which you have to fix with code. You have to sort of think, okay, how do I solve this problem, and you sort of think it out in English in one sense, or maybe language if you're not English and can't even speak English. Just an example, you basically get it out, get the idea, understand what you're doing, and sort of write it out in one sense in the language you're used to, and then once you said, okay, so this is what this does, then you code it out. That's the general idea. That went on a little lengthy of an explanation. I already meant that, but regardless, next off the top of my head, is object-oriented programming, part 2, because we had a part 1 last semester. And again, you can look up these things are called objects and classes in programming to understand what this thing is about. But what's interesting this semester is that we are actually now working with these things called GUIs. Now, not slang or anything, but GUIs is in GUI, so that's graphical user interface. So we're actually starting to use the Java programming language to make programs now with the file edit and the file edit, search, help, whatnot, and all these drop downs, and you select each of these things. So that's the sort of things we'll be doing in that. Then we have operating systems, and this is the part 2 to OS Fundamentals, and I think it's a better lecture than last time, just to be quite honest. Then I also have object-oriented analysis and design. I don't know a lot about that in order to best explain it, but it's basically an extension of requirements engineering, and I hope it's not shit. So what's another thing I could mention? And then there comes there's the elective one, because the 5 I mentioned are the mandatory ones. The elective one is, what was it again? Oh yeah, it was this one called software localization. And what software localization would be is where you have to develop a bit of software, whereas assume it's for one, as it's called, locale, which is a mixture of country and language. Be it because, like, say, Canada will speak French and English, mainly French in Quebec, English in other provinces. The US, the UK, and Ireland, we all speak English, so they have like English for the UK, for America, and for Ireland and whatnot, and even for Australia, probably. So there's all these things called locales, and you have to try and translate things to match them. And there's a lot of sort of, as it's called, localizing issues you have to come across with. Like, for example, now, like, there's one extremely good example, extremely interesting, interesting example. If you take, say, for example, the word install, this is literally the word we're chosen, and if you put all those if you put each one of those characters into uppercase in English, you get like all, like, all the capital INSTALL. We all know how to spell it. We all know how to spell install. But generally that's the thing. Now, it may sound weird, and you're wondering, where am I going to with this? But if, say, the programming language took into mind of the locale for, say, Turkey, with the Turkish language, they of course have a Turkish script, and the I they have is actually quite different. Where, say, they have two versions of I. They have the I that we see in our language, but then there's an I without the dots, like the dotless I. And then the capital version of the dotted I is actually like capital I with a dot. And you're showing that if you try to say, okay, does install and uppercase install match when the locale is Turkish, and there's no dot but the capital I, it just shows, for example, yeah, they're false. If it's in English, they will match and it will be true. Time and date is another thing you'd have to come across. This is just an example. Again, you can always look up what localization means, but that's mainly the main sort of thing I've been wanting to catch up on. Soon enough, though, around the time that this video comes out, I will get my learner's permit, and hopefully I'll be on the road to the driving lessons, and I'll need to. And there's a thing where apparently here, there's this issue date which will show up on the learner's permit, and if you add 6 months to the issue date is when you can officially do your driving test here in Ireland. So I will check that up. I will do my utter best to be doing driving lessons, so that by the time the earliest time I can do the driving test comes around, I can sit it and hopefully pass. So hopefully for third year I will be driving. So I'll probably leave it at that, because just those couple of updates of kind of how the week went, and how the exam results were, which were grand out, but a little bit better than I expected with some parts, and about a little bit about my learner's permit and driving and whatnot and all that good stuff. And I'll just quickly mention a little thing, is that it's funny enough, the latest I actually start, the latest I start in the day is be 12 o'clock, and that's on a Thursday, which is neat. But most days I finish at 6, which is a bit of a stretch. So yeah, and I'm in from 9 at earliest, which is on a Monday. So yeah, in that case, Monday is the longest day. Fuck my life. But thankfully my birthday is on one of the shorter days, but anyway, so I'll leave this video here. This is bye from me, RubiksSolver25, and I'll see you other recruits. Blue Nova.